Every comic book character has their defining origin story. For Batman, you had Year One. For Daredevil, you had The Man Without Fear. A good origin story shows us how the hero we all know and love came to be. But what if it did something different? What if instead of being a tale of hope and optimism, it was instead a hellish nightmare that showed you how a monster was born? Well, that's what we got with Barry Windsor Smith's Weapon X. Now, this is a story that a lot of people think they already know, but they actually don't. And I thought I knew it as well, but after reading this, I was dead wrong. It seems pretty straightforward, right? You've seen it in movies, cartoons, video games. Logan becomes part of the Weapon X program, sometimes under his own volition, and his skeleton is then infused with the unbreakable steel of adamantium. Then he breaks out and goes crazy. And although some of that is true, a lot of it is also wrong. Every adaptation we've seen has screwed up the story in some way. So today, I'm going to show you the real origin of one of the best characters in comic books. Spoilers ahead, by the way. If you haven't read this masterwork, you should. In March 1991, in Marvel Comics Presents, the first issue of Weapon X was published, written and drawn by Barry Windsor Smith. And what a way to start a story. If Weapon X was just this first issue, it would still be a masterpiece. The first line of the story is Wolverine saying a storm's coming, and he's not wrong. Windsor Smith immediately nails the way that Wolverine should be. Not only does he get the base characteristics right, he also understands the deeper elements of Logan. We see Logan doing his usual thing, cigar chomping, drinking whiskey, but also we see a different side of him. In this poignant scene, it's revealed that Logan routinely visits a firing range to blow off some steam. We learned that one day he was a bit shaky and accidentally wounded a member of staff with a stray bullet. Logan has been laying low in Canada as a mutant, and this incident has somebody on his trail. We also learn of a Dr. Abraham Cornelius that's being pursued by the FBI because of malpractice. Cornelius, along with a mysterious man known only as the Professor, are conducting something called Experiment X. There's a sense of impending doom right off the bat. And once again, hats off to Windsor Smith for including a crucial part of the character that's been left out by all the newer LGBTQ versions. Wolverine has always been a fallen Christian. It doesn't matter if you like it or not. Watch the 90s cartoon and you'll see it.
I will give thanks to you, O Lord, for though you were angry with me, your anger turned away and you comforted me. I will trust and will not be afraid.
Read X-Men issue 96 and Wolverine says that after 10 years of praying, he still can't control himself. And then in this, Wolverine goes to a local place for fallen Christians called the Prophecy. He says he lied about being a Christian to get in, but it's for anybody who has fallen, and he believes he does qualify. An old crazy guy warns Logan that prophecy is part of the apocalypse, and at the end of this issue, that is confirmed. Logan has repeated dreams depicting disturbing horror, pain, bones, spikes, and dagger hands. But these aren't just dreams, they are a vision, a prophecy of death, of the apocalypse. So the haunting last line of the issue is Logan realizing that it wasn't a storm that was coming, it was hell. And in the next 12 issues, that is exactly what we see. A gruesome, horrifying tale that asks the question, is Logan a man or an animal? But before I give you what I think the answer is, first I want to talk about what makes this pairing of Barry Windsor Smith and Wolverine so genius. As I mentioned in my other video about Wolverine, he's not like any other hero. He's not as hopeful as Spider-Man, but he's not a total anti-hero like the Punisher either. He has the film noir elements of Daredevil, but also his own killer instinct. He'll make Batman look puny and weak, but also remain heroic and honorable. He really is a complex character, and this story not only improves upon his regular characteristics, but also Windsor Smith brings to the table a Robert E. Howard Conan style savagery. Windsor Smith worked on the savage sword of Conan before this, and it shows. He once said that Wolverine was one of the only Marvel characters he could relate to because he was similar to Conan. Wolverine is just an ordinary guy. He can't fly or swing from webs, so that makes him much more grounded. And this is why I respect this comic and its creator. The guy who created X-Men 97 doesn't understand or respect the character, and that's why he flippantly tried to make Wolverine a homo. Millions of X-Men fans and Wolverine fans are flocking to X-Men 97, saying how good of a show it is and how accurate to the X-Men it is. The creator is actively posting LGBTQ propaganda, and he's trying to make Wolverine gay. There's proof. I'm not making any of it up. He changed Morph to be non-binary, and he wants him to have feelings for Wolverine. Get the hell away from X-Men, Wolverine, and every other character that was well written before people like you came in and ruined it. And don't give me that crap of no one wants to read the comics, little bro. The character was created and worked on in comics for years. You can't just come in and change it. It doesn't matter how much you want to, like Bryan Singer with the generic Fox X-Men movies, or any of these new comics that are also trying to make Wolverine gay. You have to adapt the character from where they came, which is these original comics. And if you can't respect that, get the F away from the fandom and comic books in general. This is Wolverine. There's no argument to be had, and he was written by Chris Claremont or Barry Windsor Smith, not some new Marxist comic writer or some gay black dude who wants to inject his own personal life onto the characters. Stay the hell away from these characters and go screw yourself. Anyways, unlike all the unfaithful adaptations we've seen, Wolverine actually doesn't volunteer to be part of the Weapon X program. In the second issue, we see him get abducted from his home by these shady government types, and this really does add another layer of fear to the story. Think about it. Without government permission or anybody knowing, Logan is forced to be part of this sick experiment. And from then to the end of the story, we see the comic through the eyes of Dr. Cornelius and the Professor. This makes the comic feel like Logan is a slasher, hunting down the protagonists who are actually the antagonists. There's also a lot of dialogue in here, but it all makes sense, and it just immerses you even more in this world of terror and pain. I know I've said stuff like this before, but the art in this comic truly is some of the best ever done. The detail in each panel is immaculate, painting a picture of endless wires and machines inflicting torture. It almost has a futuristic cyberpunk style to it. There's also this disturbing scene where they have Logan hooked up to a machine that reflects what he is thinking. An overload of terrifying images display, all before the last one showing the Professor being maimed. It's not actually that disturbing though, because the Professor is the embodiment of evil. He starves wolves and bears and forces Logan to go out into the woods and slaughter them. He humiliates Logan, treating him like filth. The Professor is delighted to see this man transform into a beast, but he probably made the worst mistake of all when he decided to give Logan adamantium claws. Before I go on, that does need to be said. Wolverine gained the claws after this experiment. He never had bone claws or any crap like that, despite what comic videos on YouTube and retcons would have you believe. And this is objectively better, because for the whole story, the Professor and Dr. Cornelius put Logan through hell. They didn't count on him waking up and using those claws against them. And when he does, my god, is it glorious. Deafening alarms blaring as Logan is unleashed on this army of scumbags, slicing his way through hordes with Conan-style savagery. And when Logan gets to the Professor, he takes his hand clean off, but the Professor gets away. Logan once again demolishes another wave of guards standing on a pile of bodies in this amazing panel. He then hunts down Cornelius and the Professor. He instantly disposes of Cornelius, and then we see the Professor turning on his own people, using a woman as bait for Wolverine. Then for the first time in the story, Logan stops and speaks. He still has control. He doesn't take the bait, sparing this woman's life. The Professor then burns Logan to a crisp, engulfing him in flames. But in classic Wolverine fashion, he didn't die, smashing through a window looking like a corpse. Now with the Professor in his grasp, we get this chilling sequence. In eerie lettering, Logan questions him, asking him, "Am I dead?" The Professor calls him an animal, and in one of the most powerful moments in the character's history, he responds, yelling, "I am Logan. I am a man, and you are the animal." He gets rid of the Professor's other hand and brace for impact, because this is when things get legendary. Logan asks, "Just because you've lost both hands, do you think that makes us even?" Well, it don't. He delivers 3 adamantium plated spikes straight through the scumbag's skull, and then he speaks the words, "Now we're square." Got that, chump? I don't know about you, but my brain just exploded with heavy metal kick-ass. Logan then throws the corpse into the pit of flames, sending the dirtbag straight to hell. And here is where a major plot twist happens. So once again, if you haven't read it, I advise you to go do that now. Anyways, so at first the ending could seem lazy, and I've seen people having all different opinions about it. But in my honest opinion, it is genius. So it turns out the entirety of him slaughtering everybody like the Professor and Cornelius was all fake. I know what you're thinking. It's the obligatory "it was all a dream" plot twist, but it actually actually is deeper than that. After throwing the professor into the flames, Logan blacks out and wakes up. He hears many voices talking, but what he's hearing are things that have already been said in the story. Confused by whatever the hell is going on, Logan makes his way outside to the snow, where he faces a Siberian tiger. All the while, we hear the voices of Cornelius, the professor, and the woman Hines talking. They reveal that they control Logan's mind to make him believe it was real, so they could find out how far he would really go. The professor is not satisfied because Logan spared Hines, showing mercy. So basically, this is only the beginning. They will keep putting him through these horrific tests until they get what they want. So a couple guards go out and try to bring Logan back in. Bad move. Logan cuts them down without remorse, and then begins the real hunt. Cornelius and the professor were too smug and distracted to see any of this happening on the cameras. And before they know it, a real life horror is coming straight for them. This isn't fake or a dream. Logan wants revenge, and he's ready to spill some real blood to get it. The last shot of the story is Logan slowly clawing his way into the room, and the look on all their faces tells a story within itself. We don't need to see what Logan does to them. What he did in the dream was gruesome enough. Now that it's for real, you can only imagine how much worse it really is. Is this ending confusing at first? Yes. Is it lazy or badly written? Not one bit. With Weapon X, Barry Windsor Smith improved on Wolverine in an unimaginable way. It's one of the darkest comics Marvel has ever published because Logan is that dark of a character, creating yet another iconic look for Wolverine and an origin story that people have been trying to adapt for years. This story can probably never be adapted just because of how much of a mind game it is. And I think that's better because it forces people to read this comic to get the true origin story of Logan. This is a masterful psychological horror story, but also one of the most badass Wolverine stories you could read. This comic is the stuff metal songs are written about. A deadly weapon of vengeance made out of unbreakable steel.
Like the skies, get the skeletons made out of unbreakable steel. Get these happening. Yep. Sideburns. But Wolverine, real violent.
Weapon X once again proves why Wolverine is like no other hero, and the way he's been treated in recent years is a disgrace. Screw X-Men 97, screw the Fox movies, and screw anybody who refuses to acknowledge that this is the true origin for Wolverine. So go read this goddamn masterpiece, Bob, and if you got a problem, go complain to your boyfriend.